lot of people in Hong Kong's goal is to become a manager, right? They, at least in my history of employment, and they love the idea of becoming a manager. Well, AI agents is your dream, because you can be a manager of all these agents who can do work for you, right? And they do work very well for you, right?
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of Global Economic Perspectives with Raymond. And we are very happy today have the chairman of the Animoca brands, Mr. Yat Siu, with us today. Thank you for coming with us. What do you see the advancement of the stablecoin licensing regime? Is it to, do you think the main focus will be to increase like payment efficiency or the advancement of innovations of fintech in Hong Kong? Or does it help Hong Kong as an international finance hub?
I mean, I think, it's not necessarily just around stablecoin, it's around the perspective on digital assets, broadly speaking, which is that if you want to become a center of the future of finance, you need to be able to embrace basically policies as well as sort of, asset classes that are new. And one of those is digital assets. And stablecoins is a very important aspect of that, right? Having said that, it's a very new industry, right? And again, I can't really comment entirely on what the joint venture is doing, right? However, broadly speaking, for Hong Kong, I would say, I'm part of the sort of Web3 advisory sort of task force as well. Our job is to basically help, advise Hong Kong in terms of, what are the industry trends, what are people looking at, and I think one of the big unlocks when we talk about digital assets is around what's happening with agents, AI agents. The future of basically finance is not going to be just related to humans interacting with each other. It's going to be how about agents interacting with each other. It's going to be done on blockchain. They're all going to have wallets. How do you verify them, right? How do you make sure that it can be done in a safe, regulated environment, right?
Can you tell us briefly what is the major differences between Web 4 and Web 3?
Sure. So the main thing about Web 3 was around digital property rights. For the first time, we had the ability to own digital property, which allowed us to have this financial infrastructure that would allow, for instance, when you own the digital asset, I can prove it's your digital asset, right? Historically, if you have your assets on a database, I can't prove it's really your asset, but with blockchain, you can prove it's your asset. So you had the basis of digital property rights. And property rights is the basis of basically sort of, finance, of course, our ideas of basically freedom, the ideas of justice, the ideas of basically how you can have that kind of liberty of where I can transact freely with each other. And from that, the finance industry basically sort of really blossomed because I can basically have property rights, and Web3 is digital property rights, right? That where I can own my digital assets, where I can prove them. And those digital assets don't have to be purely digital. They can also be things like RWAs, like a stablecoin is an RWA, or maybe real estate or HELOCs or these type of products, those type of things. Now, that's the foundation. And most people who are new to the industry might not know that 7 years ago, even just a few $1 million of transactions would kill the blockchain, right? The blockchain could not handle a few $1 million of transaction. And today, the blockchain can handle trillions of dollars, no problem, which is why you have BlackRock and you have Visa and you have Fidelity and you have all those big groups in the world all now basically adopting blockchain because it's better, faster, cheaper, right? You don't have to pay 2.5% or 1% transaction fees. It's not T+2, T+3, it's instant settlement, right? All these things are really powerful for the end user. But then we ask the question, who's the one that really needs this? Because most people, in Hong Kong, for instance, you can use Octopus, right? You can do maybe you pay 2.5% on the credit card, but you're not paying, it's the merchant who's paying, right? In some cases, the user doesn't really care. Why should I change? It seems to be okay, right? But it's different for an AI agent. So, I would ask the question, I would ask the audience this question, which is, how many AI agents do you think you'll have in your life? Most people say 3 to 5. I have over 200. However, somewhere between 3 to 5 to 200, you have a big spread. How many people are online today? About 7+ billion, which means you're going to probably have at least 30 billion, but probably more, but somewhere between 30 to a few 100 billion AI agents. They will all have their own wallet. They will all transact, and they are not going to be okay to pay 1 or 2%. They don't have a bank account. It's not going to be just about KYC. It's going to be KYA, as in know your agent. They're going to be transacting with each other with sort of ways in which they have to prove it, which is why stablecoins are important. Because now, we are okay with, let's call it traditional money. Sometimes we still have to put out our cash, right? An agent can't do that, right? They have a wallet, but they don't have a bank account. All the sort of code is very natural for an agent. It's not natural for a human. And that is what we call the Agentic Web, and that is Web 4.
Talking about AI agent, there are some voices that we are not ready regulation-wise to control, for example, the data privacy and the control of AI agents. How do we balance that? What is your view on that?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, are we ready for AI agents? I would say a lot of people aren't ready because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
However, the ability of an agent is already very, very high. I mean, you can see this already when you're asking a question that would be very difficult on Google Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever system you're using. It's actually very, very good already, right? Now you give that kind of, let's call it machine intelligence, and you basically put it into an AI agent who acts on your behalf 24/7, and it is very, very powerful, right? If you know what to do, right? But of course, does it have your personal details? Does it have your private keys, right? So there are applications out there that hold and vault it, right? So for instance, I wouldn't give sort of, an AI agent my entire bank account, right? I would give him probably some stable coins in his wallet that he can transact. Like I would have money in my own wallet, but I wouldn't give him access to my whole bank account, for instance, right? Same thing. So you have to basically just manage those security profiles. So again, I think it's kind of similar to the early days of the internet. In the early days of the internet, we had very open doors, right? We didn't have much security because we didn't understand it. I think with AI agents, it's kind of similar. The only thing is that technology is better today. And the security framings are better. And of course, a lot of people are not going to, some people are opening up their emails and everything to AI agents. I don't recommend that. I recommend that people would sort of segregate that. A lot of it is also just common sense. So I'm less concerned around the AI concerns around AI agents. I think when people are concerned around AI is not really about that type of AI. I think people are more concerned around things like with Mythos, where people are worried that, there's an AI agent that can crack your security, for instance.
Yeah.
Or it's not an AI agent, it's an AI system, right? Or one that could basically decrypt your stuff or whatever, or that kind of things. That to me is a different type of concern. The AI agents is more like your personal assistant. They can manage your schedule. They can maybe buy your groceries. They can handle your flight bookings. That's very helpful, and it's not really that dangerous.
Okay. What do you think is the upcoming future driver, for example, in year 2026 and beyond? Do you think the biggest driver for AI and fintech will be tokenizations or AI agents, as you mentioned, or other forms?
So a couple things. First, the market is certainly very, very volatile, right? And it has nothing to do specifically with AI itself, although there are elements of AI that, of course, are changing the market structure too. I think this is more of a personal observation, I would say, which is that productivity is increasing because of AI, right? And that means that you have more efficiencies. I think you'll see margin improvements, and you see certain businesses doing much better, which is why you basically get, this is the year of the mega IPOs, right? People are talking about, what's happening with OpenAI, what's happening with Anthropic, SpaceX, like all these kind of companies are, potentially going to be the sort of the next closest to, if not trillion-dollar IPOs, which has never been done before, right? So you have one segment. So on the business side, you see incredible growth and opportunity. And for those areas, things like blockchain will do very well because AI agents are going to be using blockchain rails, they're going to be using stablecoins, they're going to be using sort of DeFi as a way to basically sort of, leverage and do transactions, right? However, the market remains volatile because of the geopolitical situation, because of what's happening in the Middle East. You have just no idea what's going there, right?
Yep.
And the driver, when you think about, what we can agree on, we think is that AI is going to be the disruptive force in business. But what does AI need? It needs compute and it needs energy, right? And these are two things that will have an impact. People historically would think that energy prices might only impact, driving cars and logistics and manufacturing. It's going to affect compute as well, right? It's going to affect your AI because if your cost of energy is higher, then your cost of compute is higher, right? So those are the type of sort of impacts that maybe people wouldn't have thought of because it wasn't as compute and energy hungry as it is today, right? But it's just going to be more hungry for this stuff because AI models are going to need more data, more analysis. So compute and energy will continue to be very, very big and important topics.
I really like the way you say like we could and we should nurturing talent in Hong Kong. Do you have any advices given that we are facing all types of challenges? any advice that Hong Kong could attract or nurture more talent in the AI and Web3 professions?
Yes. So first, I would absolutely encourage everyone in Hong Kong, especially youth, to fully embrace AI in the most deepest possible way. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're using Chinese models or US models. If you use models, use VPN. They don't, you can access it, no problem, right? Or you use our AI system with Animoca Minds, you get access to AI technology. I'm not even saying use our AI product, just use AI. But don't use it in a way where you're just answering a question or using it as a tool. Basically, use it in a way where it can really transform your life, which is easier said than done, but it's a little bit like the internet. Like when you talk to people about the internet in the 90s or maybe even 2000, they say you should use it, it's the future. It's like, you can't, look, the web browsing experience wasn't great, it didn't look there, right? You didn't know what to do, right? It was a little bit slow, right? However, if you project where the future is going, then you have to invest in it. It's a little bit like, going into a difficult market where you have to do a lot of learning, but it'll pay off a lot. And because they're young, see, I could argue if you're a little bit older, maybe you can chill because, you might not have to work that hard 20 years down the road. But if you're just coming in, if you're just studying now or if you're in college, right, you have 40, 50 years ahead of your life, maybe more, hopefully much more, right? This technology is going to absolutely change everything, and you need to be ready for that, and you need to be using it. And to me, AI enables these things for you. And I would argue that the stronger you are, the job opportunities will come to you if you know AI well, right?
I agree on that.
But when I say AI well, it is not AI like a search tool. It is basically orchestrating agents that can do the work for you. So, I kind of half joke, but I think it's true. A lot of people in Hong Kong's goal is to become a manager, right? They, at least in my history of employment, and they love the idea of becoming a manager. Well, AI agents is your dream, because you can be a manager of all these agents who can do work for you, right? And they do work very well for you, right? And so it's all about sort of managing and orchestrating and setting up the right structures, right? And in some ways, for some people who love it, it's almost like a game, because they're setting up the structures. This is the programmer, this is this assistant, this is doing that kind of stuff. And there'll be some failures, many of them, but then you get better at it. And the ones who know how to orchestrate their agents really well are actually the ones who are going to get the best jobs, right? Because this is where your one employee can have 100 times productivity. So we don't believe that AI will take away jobs. We think AI will create new jobs and also more growth. Because what will happen is that when you have companies and individuals becoming more productive, you'll have more innovation, more growth, more potential. And if you look at history of technology, right, people used to think about whether it is industrialization, whether it's machines, whether it's the internet, whether it's software, whether it's a smartphone, all of those things actually added to growth. They didn't take away from growth. Yes, some businesses had to transform. Some people had to lose jobs. But macro, it grew. And we think the same will happen with AI. So in order not to lose Hong Kong's competitiveness, and Hong Kong's just kind of coming back, right? They need to fully embrace agentic AI, which is different from, let's say, search AI.
Okay. Talking about the importance of AI and what do you see AI and Web3?
Yes,
or maybe
absolutely.
Web4?
Yes.
Are they complementary to each other, and how it's going to happen?
So first of all, when you talk about this idea of a sovereign AI, we think every AI needs to have a wallet, for instance, and they have to do transactions through the wallet, and they can do it through blockchain. And also digital identity, which is only possible through basically blockchain in this manner where you have essentially soul-bound NFTs or an identity layer, again, works perfectly well with blockchain. Do we think an AI agent is going to be transacting through Visa and MasterCard, paying 2.5%? I don't think so, right? Do we think an AI agent can have a bank account? Not possible, right? So an AI agent will have their own wallet. They will do transactions. They will also do transactions in the most efficient way. If you say, I want to buy this or want to transact this, they will find the most efficient way with a minimum of cost, a minimum transaction fee to get there. Whereas traditionally, as an end user, you're captive to your environment. You're like, oh, okay, you know what, I'll just buy from Amazon, even if they charge me more. I buy from whatever, because it's convenience, right? You're kind of captured around this. The AI agent doesn't care. It's just going to find the most efficient way, right? And that's true also for things like content delivery, right? So it changes it. It makes the human become more and have more power, because my agent is sort of neutral to the traditional human UX. Right? And of course, on the back end, this will all be powered by blockchain. If I want to make a payment, I'll send you a stablecoin, right? If I want to show proof of assets, if I want to give you collateral, I can basically look at what your balance sheet is on your wallet, or I look at your trading history, or I look at your digital reputation. Like all this technology that we build for blockchain, for DeFi, for essentially sort of on-chain transactions that have the kind of stability that we have today, finally over the last 7 or 8 years, have all come to bear today for those AI agents. If you launched AI agents 5 years ago, they would not be able to use blockchain, right? It was not fast enough, scalable enough, or secure enough. And today, it's all of that, right? So that's critical. And finally, what I tell to people as well is that blockchain, as in digital assets, are going to be, we think, the most natural hedge for in sort of an AI future. Because what is the asset class that basically sort of AI uses? It's digital assets. When people talk about the token, right? What is a token? Well, a token in an AI is a commodity abstraction of compute and energy. I mean, today, when you're buying inference to pay essentially the fuel of your AI agent, you're buying tokens, right?
Yep.
It's tokens, and then you spend those tokens basically, whether this is for OpenAI, whether it's for Anthropic, whether it's Google, you're basically buying tokens. And they give you a measure, for those of you that are more technical, how many tokens did I burn, right? Effectively, that is the digital commodity of AI. And now if you want to create a commodities market, then you probably can tokenize it. In a way, it's essentially a machine RWA, right? Same thing. And then you create markets just the same way that we have markets for like lithium and gold and whatever, for semiconductor industries or for electronics industries. You have the same basically for the AI industry in the form of compute and energy.
Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the future of Animoca and your business strategies. Now that you are now successfully entered into the Hong Kong market, what is the upcoming business strategies of Animoca? Are you going to spend a lot on R&D or spend a lot on the operation efficiency, as you mentioned, or acquisition of talent, and how you're going to do all this in the future, and in particular in Hong Kong?
Sure. Well, Hong Kong is our headquarters. It's our home, right? I mean, you're in our office here, right? So we're definitely sort of, and I've been in Hong Kong basically 30 years almost. So yeah, so either way, so Hong Kong is definitely home. I love Hong Kong. I think the main thing, when we think about it though, is Hong Kong has always been a great global hub, right? And so I think of ourselves as a global business that just happens to be headquartered out of Hong Kong, right? And the talent is Hong Kong based, right? I mean, most of the people are based in Hong Kong, right? But we have global operations. We're in Europe, we're in America, we're in South America, we're everywhere, right? So, we're even in the Middle East, even though things are a little tough right now, right? So I would say that, for our future, we've always been investment focused, R&D focused, operational focused. It's always been sort of, our lens. We will continue to do that. But of course, what we focus on might change a little bit, right? So we've got the RWA stuff, that's a really big thematic for us on the institutional side. And then we've got our AI agentic stuff, alongside our investment stuff. What we're doing with Animoca Minds, that's a huge focus area.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Siu.
Thank you.
I hope Animoca and Hong Kong will grow together, and we're going to have many, many more successful moments together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching the Global Perspective of Raymond, and I'm going to see you in the next episode. Thank you and bye-bye.